I just saw Black Panther and it was really, really good. The character work was easily some of the best ever. The themes were heavy and well realized, and it's just a very well constructed film. There were a few editing issues where moments don't hit as hard as they could, and there's also an overabundance on CGI. I don't think I saw a real sky, but its ambition and storytelling more than compensate for its flaws. This story actually mirrors Thor's story pretty closely. Both were princes, and now they have to be king. Their kingdoms come under siege with certain people gunning for the throne. The shell of these two movies are very similar, but while Thor was a movie about conquerors, Wakanda is a story about isolationists and also the conquerees. So that's a not so subtle difference that really shapes this story. This film is important for many reasons. It has an all-black cast. It's the first big major black superhero, but it also tells a uniquely African-American story. Ryan Coogler, the director, made Creed, Fruitvale Station, and they were both about young black men, but it also touched upon ideas of what it means to be a man and also the relationship between sons and their fathers. He continues that trend into this movie, and what I like about Coogler is he's a very good writer and he has very clear arcs for the characters while also having them serve the theme. Black Panther also has one of the best villains since Loki. He's not nearly as fun, but he's way more important. The action is just okay and some of the editing is off, but the character work is phenomenal. Now let's talk about the themes that Coogler executes so well and ultimately makes this film something beyond just a Marvel movie. The obvious starting point for this conversation is Eric Killmonger. In Killmonger, we have the ideal antagonist. He's someone who represents the complete opposite of what our protagonist represents. While T'Challa was born to be king, Killmonger was a mistake. He represents every kid in the ghetto who grows up without a father and is subsequently filled with anger. It would have been so easy to have this character be a delinquent, but this movie does an amazing thing because by subverting tropes and stereotypes, this film manages to speak to greater truths. Wakanda is the biggest, most obvious subversion because it's basically Africa. Whereas the stereotype of Africa is that it's impoverished and also under siege by colonizers. In this film, we have Wakanda, who's the most powerful nation on Earth that's ever existed, maybe. And the awesome thing about this idea is that there's a lot of wealth and culture in Africa. The cool thing having Wakanda being this awesome country was that there's truth to this. There was a lot of wealth and culture in Africa, and had not all of these different countries colonized it and stripped it of its people and wealth, who knows, maybe it could have been like Wakanda. In Eric Killmonger, we have that same subversion. Very, very rarely do people in poverty manage to escape it, but Killmonger has managed to excel, and he's used his anger to become an incredibly accomplished military man. But in this world where we are playing a thought experiment, what is the result when the roles are flipped? The same problems arise. Eric Killmonger's success is only used for more violence, and Wakanda is having a huge debate about colonization. So essentially, it's a cycle. And while we feel for Eric, just like we feel for all the people that are oppressed, if the oppressed were to rise up and overthrow their colonizers, what's next? This movie asks that question, and it also tells us that that's not necessarily the answer. There is no easy answer to the world's problems, but to become the people that wronged you won't solve it either. This is one of the main debates of the movie, the historically oppressed versus the colonizers, but there's also a separate theme of infighting. There is so much infighting in this movie, from T'Challa versus generals to T'Challa's father and his father's brother, and then between the cousins. As much as Killmonger rails about the oppression of his people who look like him in order to shape the world to his liking, he wages war on his own people. Coogler obviously doesn't agree with this, because at the very end, when the general that betrayed T'Challa must fight against his lover, he finally lays down his arms. And in that battle scene between all of the Wakandan soldiers and the other tribe, that is the one time where we really slow down the action and we see all the violence not as fun, but as tragic. When Killmonger is at the edge of death with T'Challa overlooking Wakanda, T'Challa offers to save him, and Killmonger rejects his offer because he says he'd rather die in the ocean like his ancestors who tried to escape, rather than live in chains. Wakanda is Africa, and it's a beautiful country worth fighting for. Eric Killmonger is definitely wrong in his methods, but then we go back to that scene with them as a young boy and his father. This scene is what made this movie special, where we see the boy, Eric, in all of his innocence and goodness, not an ounce of evilness. And in this scene in their apartment where his father is crying, seeing what's become of both of them, Eric suddenly is an adult now and replies his father's death wasn't that big a deal because people die all the time. Have you seen Black Panther? What did you think? Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time. I wish I could say something more profound, but yeah, just check out the movie if you haven't seen it.